Good morning, folks. It's Alistair McConaughey here with our daily countdown to the great Scottish ejection with 31 days to go. And I'm standing here in a rather quiet Govan bus station just next to the subway station. More about that in a moment. Welcome to people who are coming in on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on YouTube. And I'm standing beside this wall here in order to cut out the wind. And here in this part of Govan, we are at the most northerly and the most eastern part of the constituency of Glasgow Pollok. And of course, our aim is to ensure that the sitting MSP does not get re-elected. That's Humza Yousaf. We are going to get Humza out. Good morning to Adam coming in there as you say good afternoon. So let's move over here a little as people are coming in. And remember, our aim is to give Humza the heave, okay? We're going to get him out of Glasgow Pollok because Unionists and Nationalists are going to unite on the basis that Humza and the SNP have been destroying Scotland with their anti-free speech agenda, the one that has to be put an end to. And we are going to do it on Thursday, the 6th of May. We are going to give Humza the heave and we are going to get Humza out. And we are in the most northeasterly part of the constituency of Glasgow Pollok right now. And Unionists and Nationalists are going to unite. And here's how we do it. On the first ballot paper, we do not vote for Humza. If you're in Glasgow Pollok and if you are a nationalist, there are other parties standing on the first ballot paper that you can vote for if you believe in Scottish independence. The aim is simply to deprive Humza of your vote because that's what's keeping him in. And if we continue to give him our vote, then he will continue to destroy Scotland because he will see that as an endorsement. So we must not endorse him, we must vote him out. And that's what we're going to do on Thursday, the 6th of May, when Unionists and Nationalists are going to unite to get Humza out. We're going to get Humza out. And we're going to purge the scourge. Now, you know, Jordan Peterson is a famous Canadian philosopher, and he made a tweet this morning about Humza. I'm just going to read it to you. He said the emergence of this new law in Scotland, and he was talking about, of course, the anti-free speech law. He says the emergence of this new law in Scotland, of all places, should shock anyone with an iota of historical knowledge to the core. Wake up, Great Britain. Enough is enough. That's Jordan Peterson this morning, and that's his attitude towards Humza's anti-free speech law. Got some amazing history in this constituency, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But first of all, I want to remind everybody to register to vote, okay? Humza only got in 2016 because only 46% of this electorate in the constituency of Glasgow Pollok bothered to vote. Okay, more than half of the people in this constituency did not vote. That's why he got in. That's why he got in. Okay, so we have to get the vote out. And if you're not registered to vote, you can go to that website address, gov.uk/register-to-vote, and you can register there. But you have to do it today because time is running out. You've only got until halfway through April to do it. So please do register to vote if you are not registered. Now, some people will say, well, what's the point of registering to vote? Because my man's not going to win anyway. Well, it doesn't matter, really. The important thing is that you use your vote and you do not vote for Humza. That's the important thing. And even if the person that you voted for doesn't win, at least you have used your democratic vote to vote for what you believe in, or in some cases to vote to keep what you don't believe in out. But let's use the vote, folks, okay? Our forefathers and foremothers died for the right for us to vote, okay? So let's use the vote, and if you're not registered, please do register to vote. Now, some people will say, am I in Glasgow Pollok? I'm going to read out the areas of Glasgow Pollok for you. If you are in any of these areas, you will be able to vote to get Humza out. Anybody in this area, which is the Govan area west of the subway station, okay, over to Elder Park and Lint House and Shield Hall and around the BAE systems there, and then going south to Drummoyne, Pennylee, Hillington, Cardonald, Craigton, Crookston, Ross Hall, Moss Park, Hoch Hill, Corker Hill, Priest Hill, House Hill Wood, the area around the Silverburn Shopping Centre, Nitz Hill, Darnley, Park House, Arden, and Jenny Lind. If you're in any of these areas, you can vote in Glasgow Pollok to get Humza out. Now, behind me here, I'm just going to turn around, is the Glasgow subway station, the Govan subway station. It's one of several on the Glasgow subway. And I just want to say a few words about the Glasgow subway. You know, construction began on it in 1891, and 5 years later, on the 14th of December, 1896, it was ready to go and it was opened. In 5 years, they built the Glasgow subway, okay, which is still with us today. Now, in 5 years, you couldn't get planning permission in 5 years. Yet back in those days, the Victorians, they came up with an idea and they did it. And you know what? That was before we had a Scottish Parliament, okay? We didn't have a Scottish Parliament to interfere in things until 1999. But back in those days, it didn't stop people building amazing infrastructure throughout Scotland. And as we always say, you don't actually need a Scottish Parliament. If your aim is simply to get things done, then you can do that very simply. You know, all it took was for Westminster to pass the Glasgow District Subway Act for making subways in the city and suburbs of Glasgow, and for other purposes, 1890. They passed that act, and lo and behold, 6 years later, Glasgow had a functioning subway system. A subway system which is still with us today and which performs extremely well. Now, I mean, can you imagine Humza Yousaf trying to build the Glasgow subway? You know, he was transport minister for a couple of years, and he became famous. He became famous for driving a car without insurance, okay, while he was transport minister. Okay, that's the state of what we've got, I'm afraid, with Humza Yousaf at the moment. Transport minister, and he drives a car without insurance. Now, I don't know about you, but as soon as I passed my driving test, I was very conscious of what cars you could and could not drive. And I was very conscious of insurance policies, but not so our actual transport minister who drove a car without insurance. So what I'm saying basically is that we have all this amazing infrastructure in Glasgow, and it was all built. It was all built prior to devolution. Everything we travel on, everything we live in, basically, was built prior to devolution. I'm going to turn the camera around. There's an interesting statue here that I want to talk about. This is a statue to Mary Barber, who was a famous Glaswegian woman. She became a councillor. And she's famous for leading a rent protest back during World War One. Back in 1915, there was lots of workers came into Glasgow, and consequently, various landlords put up the rent to levels that the poor people in this area couldn't afford. And she was a woman who led protests against that, and she was largely successful in doing so. She set up various tenants' committees and would block bailiffs from trying to eject often widowed women who had lost husbands in World War One. So this is 1915, and on the 17th of November in 1915, she led a famous march to George Square to highlight the matter. And it went very quickly, it went straight to Westminster, and Lloyd George was told the Lloyd George said he would take action, and in fact, very quickly, the Rents and Mortgage Interest Restriction Bill was introduced and passed in Parliament. And what that did is it restricted rents and mortgages to pre-war levels for the duration of the war and for 6 months thereafter. And she was then to become a councillor and serve on Glasgow City Council. So this sculpture is by Andrew Brown, and it was put up just a few years ago. I'm just trying to get the best perspective here to see it, because it's meant to be 3D sort of thing. Very good, very good. That's another example, actually, come to think of it, of how Westminster can, if it wants, get things done as well. After all, there was no Scottish Parliament when she was bringing this issue to the fore. It was Westminster that quickly brought in the necessary legislation. So we're going to be back down here in this area of Govan again, because there's a lot of history down here, down on the Clyde. And we'll be going along there, which is BAE Systems is further along there. There's a statue we can talk about at another date. And there's also various history from the old kingdom of Strathclyde, which was the kingdom of the Britons. And we can talk about that in a future broadcast. Let's walk along here to the point of the most northerly point of the constituency. It's a lovely day here in Govan. Lovely day. A little bit chilly, but lovely. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, please, folks, please do share this broadcast. Let's get this out. Let's get the message very clear that we're going to give Humza the heave. Let's get the message out. Give Humza the heave, purge the sturge, get Swinney in the binny, and make Angus Robertson the soon-to-be forgotten one. It's all happening, folks. Happening on May the 6th. You can be part of it, but you must register to vote. You must register to vote. That's the entrance to Govan subway station. Okay, lovely. Folks, this is Alistair McConaughey, A Force for Good, signing off, saying we will see you tomorrow from another part of the wonderful constituency of Glasgow Pollok, in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow. Thanks for watching.